Right, we are here at Volvo and I am looking at the FH electric truck. It dwarfs the FM electric truck, which is already a big thing. This one, however, is basically almost like a hotel room on wheels, as we'll see when we go inside it. On the outside, it's big and it's white. I have Eric Parry with me, who is the marketing dude around these particular cars. Eric, when I said cars, I just said cars.
You did say
I
cars.
meant I could park my car inside that car. That car transporting massive interior. Eric, talk to me about this electric truck. What is it?
So this is an FH electric 6x4 truck tractor.
Yep.
Which means 3 axles, back 2 are driven.
Yep.
Which means this one is capable of a 56-ton combination weight. So
right.
This, with its trailers and its payload, could all take up to 56 tons on the road. So to do that, 665 horsepower, 2,400 newton meters of torque. So it can basically yank that up a cliff quite comfortably.
That's a good way of putting it. And it's 100% electric. There's not a single diesel fume coming out of this thing at all. Show me the batteries. Where do we store these things?
Batteries are on the chassis. So we have this particular truck has got 6 batteries. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each
Good
battery
heavens.
cube, so there's 540 kilowatt hours of battery storage on here. Each cube is a 90 kilowatt hour cube.
How big are the motors on this thing?
We've got 3 motors.
Yep.
The motors are in fact underneath that catwalk.
Okay.
They are around 400 millimeters in diameter, probably about 400-500 long.
It's tiny.
They are.
You know, I love electric because it's just so simple and so powerful.
What we've done is we've tried to keep the layout of the truck a commercial vehicle, because this
Yeah.
is still a truck.
Yeah.
The truck driver comes to this, he must know what he's looking at.
Yeah.
Same axles, same brakes,
Yeah.
same chassis rails, same couplings, same airline, same everything that a driver would know how to use is here. We even have our normal transmission in the vehicle, so there's a 12-speed transmission.
Okay.
We only use 3-4 gears out of it, but we have the ability to go lower, which allows you to pull off heavier weights with less strain on the driveline. So because it's our in-house gearbox, it made sense to use it in this application. The other advantage of that is if you do have anything issue with the vehicle on the road, it doesn't require any special treatment to be recovered. You lift it up, you undo the prop shaft, lift it up like you would up in a normal tractor and go.
So just one thought about this. Your driver training, in order to be able to train drivers now to drive electric,
Yes.
not a lot involved. It's kind of like, sit in here, here's the accelerator,
Yes.
here's the brake, carry on.
Yes.
Lovely.
That's exactly how it is, because you're even to the point in inside the truck, the cab interior is identical,
Yep.
apart from certain controls and screens.
Yep.
But you still started with a traditional key. You have the same control to adjust the gearbox. Everything is in the same location.
It's all familiar.
It's all familiar.
All right. So much for the fun stuff. Now, scare me. Price.
Scare you between 2.5 to 3 times more than a equivalent diesel.
Okay.
So a truck like this is anywhere between this sort of size vehicle, anywhere between 6.5 million.
6.5 million rand.
But bearing in mind, a truck is something that makes you money from day one. So
Well,
different purpose.
you know, I'm just going because I'm trying to think how I'm going to get one of these in my driveway once I've got my 6.5 million rand, because I have absolutely no idea what I'd do with it, but I want one. Man, this thing is cool. Eric, tell us about this environment we find ourselves in.
Cool. So at the moment we're sitting in one of our FH electric trucks. At the moment, this is what we call a normal sleeper. We have a Globetrotter cab, which has even taller, which I can stand up in. But this generally would have one bunk and would generally be for slightly more regional type work or slightly more long distance type work. But this is the second Volvo FH electric in the country. So this is a 6x4 truck tractor.
Six wheels, 4-wheel drive.
Yes. A
Fantastic.
rear 2 drive. It has a 3-motor electric motor design. So we're on 665 horsepower.
665 horsepower.
Yes, 490 kilowatts of power. 2,400 newton meters of torque. So, and basically, it's equivalent to what a diesel 480, 500 horsepower truck would be.
I have stayed in hotel rooms smaller than this cab.
If you've been to Japan,
I've
certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. You know exactly where I was going with that. And absolutely not one of them has had anywhere near this kind of level of power. And the seat I'm sitting on, I'm busy adjusting myself up and down because it's one of these air bouncy seats,
Yes.
obviously for long haul trucking. Which leads me to my next question: long haul trucking and electric.
Not
There's
yet.
a bit of a
Not yet. It all depends on how you talk about long haul.
Yeah.
So what we do with the electrics is we look at the electrics from a perspective of regional haul.
okay.
They are ideal for a customer who wants to run from a distribution center. So someone like your Woolworths, Pick n Pay, Spar, ShopRite of the world, where they'll run from a central distribution center to multiple stores in a day, and then
Yeah.
return and stay overnight.
Right.
You would also use it with customers who are running from a factory to a distribution center. So people who make potato chips, soft drinks, food of any kind, they would be moving them from factories to distribution centers. So it's a dedicated run. So you're running
Typical range.
typical range on a truck like this, fully loaded. So the 6x4 models can do up to a 56-ton gross vehicle combination weight.
Okay.
So that's truck, trailers, and payload up to
Okay.
56 tons. The smaller vehicles that we have next door to us, the 6x2s and the 4x2s, they can do up to 45 tons. And they generally they would be running, in either situation, running anywhere between 200 to 300 kilometers range on a full charge.
How much does the truck itself actually weigh without anything attached to it?
This particular one's around about 12 tons. It's
12 tons,
yeah.
just by the...
Yeah. It's 2
heavens.
tons heavier than a standard truck tractor. So it's only a deficit of 2 tons. Even though this truck has got 6 batteries on it and 3 tons of batteries.
I was about to say, 2
Yes.
tons actually sounds like a lot, but over a 10-ton span,
No,
it's
it's-
only about 20%.
Yeah,
or so.
it's not
So
heavy.
200 to 300 k is fully laden.
Yes.
If I just wanted to use this thing to robot
Yeah.
and race around in, because 2,400 newton meters of torque and a lot of kilowatts in a 12-ton vehicle,
Yes.
what would the range be?
Your range, empty, running like this, you'd probably be in upwards of 420 to 450 kilometers empty. Again, because it's a 6x4, you've got 2 full drive axles, so you've got 8 tires, because it's twin tires, you've got 8 tires making contact with the ground, rolling resistance, and lots of stuff. So it's designed as heavy. You make a comment about robot racing. The trucks, other brands have talked about how fast their trucks can accelerate and stuff, and if you've driven an electric car, they try and rip your head off in a nice way. Our trucks are designed very specifically to not do that.
Right.
So when we go for a test drive later and we pull off,
disappointing. I was fully expecting to have my head ripped off in a 12-ton truck this morning.
what you will find is the way it actually gains speed once you're moving, because we control the motor drive control so carefully, because no transporter wants to get their full payload of 56 tons or 45 tons to 100 in 10 seconds, because the damage to your cargo, the damage to your trailers, the damage to your tires. So you don't need special tires for these vehicles. They're standard tires.
Good, sensible Volvo thinking.
Yes. So if we could unlimit it, that would make a very different story. But
with you.
the way we run it is it pulls off like a very powerful diesel truck would.
Sure.
So the part of that is the philosophy of trying to keep the truck as close to what a driver would expect
As possible.
from a diesel vehicle. So if that's what kind of the performance and the way the vehicle moves off that he expects, then it's easier for him to adapt.
Before we were so rudely interrupted by the high technology we use for our video recordings here, you'd be amazed. You talk about high tech in your trucks. Talk to me about the batteries in these things.
Yes.
How many batteries? How big? What size?
Okay.
Let's. I mean, they must be enormous.
Yes, they are. We've designed our batteries into essentially a cube design. So
Okay.
we go anywhere from 2 to 6 batteries. So 6 batteries with the Metron is the maximum. Each battery cube is a 90 kilowatt hour cube.
Okay.
So a full six battery truck will be on 540 kilowatt hours. So this truck has got half a megawatt of storage on it. We only allowed 380 kilowatts hours of that to be used.
Okay.
It protects the battery from being undercharged, from being overdrained and overcharged. So that's where we get the range 200 to 300 k's. If there was more of it as available, maybe you could get a bit more. But
So if you're using 400 kilowatts or so on a 250 kilowatt charger, given lag, 2.5 maybe 3 hours to charge it?
just under 2.
Just under
about
2
an hour,
at full.
hour and 15 minutes at a 250 kilowatt charge, DC charge. So we would run it on our. We've got 120 kilowatt chargers at our dealerships.
Okay.
And that flat to full, I've tested it, will run 3 hours and about 43 minutes from flat to full. So it runs really, really well. It's not the charge rate, because you're not pushing the battery too far. The charge rate is as fast as possible up until about 95%,
Yes.
and only then does it slow down.
I noticed the same thing on the C40 actually when I was using the big charger at. It wasn't actually a Volvo charger; it was a VW, an Audi
That's
charger.
okay.
But
That's okay.
250 kilowatt.
The chargers are interchangeable.
You know, sort of 40 minutes, and you're good to go. So
Yes.
so it's an impressive charging time. You know, sort of 3 hours or so to find in a day when you're hauling stuff around is tricky. But if you're doing the 300k range, you know, it should be eminently possible.
Yeah. What we're finding is a lot of places we use a simulation system to actually model the customer's operation.
Right.
So what we do with that is we say, okay, fine, you want to go from point A, you're leaving at 6 a.m. in the morning, you are going to travel to point B. At point B, you will offload, you're going to start with 12 tons. You're going to offload 2 tons at the first point.
My word.
And then you run for
The
another
propeller heads must love this.
Oh yeah, because we get
They
a
must
full
love
curve and a graph. And the nice thing is
It's all mathematics.
It's all maths. It's
We
all
know
range. It's
Mathematics rules the world. That's exactly it. Just whilst I'm on mathematics, regen.
Yes.
How much regen does this have? Is it as aggressive as in your conventional electric cars, which is one pedal driving type thing?
You can do one pedal driving, but we also keep a stalk control for it, so that the driver can turn that one pedal driving on and off quite easily.
Okay.
So it's analogous to an engine brake on a normal truck.
Okay.
The exhaust brake. You've heard the old trucks.
Yeah.
That's same control mechanism. So you get that same feeling of retardation. I don't actually have the kilowatts or specific power that our regen, because it regens at different rates depending on your speed and depending on your load and depending on the state of charge of the batteries. Because obviously the batteries are full, there's nowhere for the regen to go.
Yeah.
So
understood.
But when in automatic mode, it blends with the brake. So if you start touching the brakes, it starts with that first and then adds in the foundation brakes as well.
So obviously you've still got good brakes.
Oh yes.
In the event that you actually do
430 mil discs.
Okay, yeah, we don't. The trucking industry story is something that's fairly new to me, I must be honest. But the numbers, viewers, are staggering. If you think big is big, you haven't met it till you've actually sat in a truck, because big becomes outrageously enormous, and that's the fun thing about it. It's part of the attraction, I guess.
Yes.
I notice the dash is all digital.
Yes.
There's a huge amount of tech in these trucks. It looks like. Run me through them in quick.
Very, very quick. So the main display has got all the information that you need. Speed, it tells you information on your accelerator, how much power you're using. It tells you your range. It tells you your current battery state. It'll tell you your kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers or kilometers per kilowatt hour, depending on how you want to run it.
Does it keep track of the number of Nissan Almeras you've run over?
No, because of the safety systems, you won't run over them. So
it's a bit annoying.
Yeah. So this has got a set of our full active safety pack.
Okay.
So it has got what you would expect in a vehicle like this: adaptive cruise control.
Okay.
So adaptive cruise control, that'll take you to 0. So it will stop gently behind the vehicle at the gap you've set, and that'll work from 5 k's an hour up. So it runs at cooling speeds.
Okay.
We've got our forward collision warning emergency brake. So that is a radar camera system that will pick up a vehicle in front of you. So it's designed for vehicles, not people or anything like that. So down to a motorbike, it will pick up. But that is even if you're driving with no cruise control, your foot's flat on the accelerator. If it picks up something in front, it will start with a light on the dashboard, on the windscreen. Remember correctly?
Yeah, that's one of the safety systems being that to stop you 400 millimeters away.
Yes.
Why did they choose 400 millimeters?
That was the legislative requirement from the EU, so it had to be met. That had to be met, because
why couldn't they make it 1.4 meters? It would make me feel a lot better.
Well, yes.
I suppose the idea is that you're not going to do this too often, given how traumatic it must be.
Yes, it is.
It's
rather entertaining to do it if you do it on a test track.
I can just imagine. Okay, so we have that. Does it beep when you go in reverse?
Yes, it does. We can turn. We've got two tones to it. One's a quiet
really?
tone and one's a noisy tone.
Okay.
There is generally a legal requirement for a specific level of noise for reversing.
Okay.
The other safety systems, we have also a lane changing support.
Okay.
So in the mirrors, there's a light and there's radars on either side of the truck.
Does it know how long the truck is when you're fully laden?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it knows that it can go back 20 meters, and if you
Okay.
have a trailer connected, then it starts to view further back.
Okay.
So the radar can view 20 meters back from behind the front wheel,
Okay.
which generally is enough to get you to the back of a trailer.
Okay.
So that will, if then that one picks up vulnerable road users as well as cars. So that'll pick up a child, a cyclist, an adult, a motorcyclist, a car, a bus, a truck, an aeroplane. It'll pick up anything, and that's on these trucks have got it on both sides.
Okay.
We also have a passenger corner camera.
Okay.
So there's a camera in the foot of the mirror,
Okay.
which has almost 180-degree field of view down the left. So if you
Right.
indicate left, this screen on the side turns on with that view,
Okay.
and it turns off when you stop. Or you can turn it on automatically if you want to see what's coming, because most offside accidents happen that side. Where as a driver's going into an intersection, someone tries to cut inside him,
Yeah.
then he'll
It
see
doesn't
them immediately.
Well, yeah.
The other thing is also we have lane keeping support.
Okay.
So that uses the camera to monitor the lines of the road.
Load. Well, when
And-
you have lines.
When you have lines, it picks up edges as well.
Yeah,
So it
okay.
doesn't necessarily be a perfectly painted line to work. But that's where our active steering comes in, because we have the full active steering.
Okay.
The active steering will then keep the vehicle in the lines. It will keep moving. It'll do 3 corrections before it starts to tell the driver, pay attention, apply steering, apply steering, apply steering. It's not an
Pull out.
autonomous system.
Pull out.
Yes.
Pull out. Okay.
The idea is that if you fall asleep,
That was my question. Is now I understand that a lot of Volvos have full autonomy built in. It's just not yet turned on.
yes.
Is that the case here?
Well, every single item in the truck that could be controlled by an autonomous system is already electronic. So you've got your motors, your gearbox, your brakes, your steering. Everything else is, all those items are the items that you need to be able to make it autonomous. So we have diesel and electric trucks running in other parts of the world. There's a pilot we're running with a limestone mine in Norway, where the vehicles are fully autonomous. It's a tractor with a trailer. The vehicle goes down to the pit, loads from the wheel loader, and the wheel loader sends it off, and the truck drives off to the crusher, tips, and comes back again on its own. No driver. We don't even have the safety driver in it anymore.
AI is coming.
Yep.
The robots are coming.
But that's
you heard
also-
it here first.
But that's also a controlled environment, so
Yes.
it's not on the public roads.
Sure.
We have had trials on the public road. We had a project called Vera, which was an electric tractor with no cab at all. So that the truck was flat and it could connect it, and it ran from a container depot to the port and back, and it was allowed to run on a public road for a short period
Okay.
as a pilot test, and it ran very, very, very well. So we've got all of these sort of things running in
It's
parallel.
coming. It's just a question of time.
So those safety features I mentioned are also all in the diesels as well. They're not
Okay.
limited
Yeah,
to
sure.
electric. They're in
Sure.
across the board.
Sure.
We just make
Being
sure they're
top of the range electric. We expect it
Yes.
to go. So these trucks are now in South Africa. You said you've got 9 of them floating around. You've sold one already.
There are 9 in the country.
But you're now testing it out and seeing it. What's the customer feedback been like?
Customer feedback is very enthusiastic, especially from your big blue chip type customers, the guys who have international parent companies,
Yeah.
people who have environmental ambitions, who've signed up to science-based targets. Because with an electric truck, the trucks are very, very expensive compared to a diesel. Nearly between 2.5 and 3 times more.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's also part of that is because they're fully imported, so they attract duties, and the duty regime is identical to the diesels.
Don't talk to me
So-
about duties.
Duties on a diesel are not terrible, but if you're paying triple the cost of the vehicle, you're paying triple the duties.
Yeah.
So that just compounds.
It just compounds
Yes.
the whole thing.
So at the moment we're in discussions through NAMSA with the DTIC and
To
DOT
see if we
and all
can
that sort of stuff.
actually bring us in line with the rest of the world.
Yes.
Right.
'Cause-
Moving swiftly along from
yes,
that.
yes, yes.
Is there an economic case then to be made for going electric, other than the fact that there are environmental issues that it addresses?
Yes, not quite as clear cut as you would be in a country that has a lot of incentives.
Yeah.
So, for example, Germany, where they will subsidize 80% of the differential between the cost of a diesel versus an electric.
Oh wow.
So that's the kind of thing that's available.
They really don't want diesel on their roads.
You've got Switzerland, for example, which exempts the vehicles from a road tax, all road tax, and their road tax is enormous because it's costed per kilometer in euros. So that type of base makes a lot more sense. Locally, you need to start looking to the 6 to 7 years of the vehicle's life before you start to get to the point where you're running to break even and then improvement. That mathematics of that, back to your mathematics, changes drastically where your cost of energy comes in.
Yeah.
So if you have a full on-grid system from Eskom where you are subject to their increases and you're subject to their tariff structure, then it will take longer. But if you have a solar system and a backup system already in place that can be either expanded fairly easily or already has sufficient capacity, like a big industrial system would, to charge these, you are essentially, from the day you take delivery, you are paying zero for any energy you're using to move those goods.
Yeah.
That's when that payback period rapidly changes.
It changes completely. I was about to say, it's a case of that alternative energy pricing is going to drop. Traditional coal pricing is going to go up because Eskom just cannot get it right, and they can't change it now. So in that respect, the mathematics, I think, would stack up. You mentioned 6 to 7 years payback time, give or take, on a more or less
very
vanilla case.
Yeah, some suck, yes.
But what's the lifespan of this vehicle? How long will this thing be on the road for?
We look at the battery lifespan. We're guaranteeing battery lives up to 8 years.
Okay.
8 years, 800 to 1 million kilometers, 800,000 to 1 million kilometers.
Okay.
So very, very heavy usage. And that will then get you to 80% of the original state of charge window. So you will have less range at the end of that period, but you will still be within your within what the vehicle's capable of. What we also do is part of the simulation,
I'll take those out and put them into my house.
Well, that's where we look at the second life of the battery.
There you go.
We have a division called Volvo Energy that's working on that as a second life for the batteries, because the current draws that are used in these, because we have a 600 volt system, the current draws to move a 12-ton vehicle or to move a 56-ton combination is enormous. So once you take those out,
you don't have little cables. You have
we have monsters. So if you
copper bars, yes.
So if you take them out and you put them in a stationary, like a factory or residential or like that, we look at another between 10 to 15 years of lifespan in a second life.
Over and above the original 8 years.
So you're talking
that's phenomenal.
Up to around 20 years life before you even need to start looking at recycling the batteries.
Yeah.
So there's a long life use case for these batteries.
And the rest of the vehicle, how long will that last?
The rest of the vehicle,
8 years.
Vehicles like this is based on the diesel. We've got vehicles running up to upwards of 2 million kilometers comfortably with no issue. So the rest of the vehicle is, also because you don't have anywhere near the vibrations in this vehicle like you would normal, the wear and tear on components is a lot less. When you look at maintenance, normally a diesel, depending on what type of operation it's in, will be anywhere from 30 to 60,000 kilometers service intervals.
Yeah.
So in an operation where you're running 100,000 a year, twice a year you're bringing it in for service.
Yeah.
This vehicle is once a year, no matter the mileage.
Because it doesn't care.
Yes, it doesn't, because you're not stressing anything. There's no fuels or oils to worry about. So it makes
that would factor into the payback period as well.
That would, yes, because it means it's more uptime for the vehicle. You're not sitting with it in a workshop for 2 days or a day while it's having all the full services done. So for as often as it would.
Fantastic. I think that's a great introduction to trucking. It's certainly a very interesting introduction to electric trucking. And of course, now there's just one small little question I have left to ask you.
Yes.
Can I drive it?
Right.
Okay. What do I do?
So use the key.
It's completely alien to me. I've never driven anything like. So key on,
and then
dash lights up.
Dash lights up.
I have already adjusted my steering to suit.
Cool. Press OK.
And I press OK. Battery connected.
Cool.
It's got different batteries as well.
Yes, it's got a 24 volt system that powers everything else.
Good Lord. Mental memory.
The next thing now is to just turn the key as if you were starting a normal car. There you go. And you will see
that's impressive. We go to yellow.
That symbol comes up on the dashboard.
Gotcha. There we go.
Sorry, the glare is a bit problematic.
Tells us where we're going.
Cool.
Then it's just basically a question of selecting the right gear. We're going to go into automatic.
Yes.
Not manual.
Yes.
And we're going to close off this.
That's the parking brake.
And it says there's an 8 here. It tells me I'm in what? 8th gear.
Yes.
We have
8 out of 12.
We're pulling off an 8th gear.
Yes. It will dynamically choose the correct gear based on the load that the vehicle has.
That's amazing. All right.
There you go.
Here we go. We are going that way, and then we're going right.
Yes. Do you please remember that you are sitting in front of the front wheels?
So when I turn, it's going to be miles.
Yes.
We are moving. We are moving. I am driving a massive truck. I cannot tell you. This is quite a sensation. Good heavens. Okay, one's just got to get used to the fact that, as you say, one's sitting in front of the wheels. Whoa, goodness me. And the smallest bumps are accentuated because these wheels are just so enormous.
Put your foot down.
Do you know what, Eric? I could get used to this. Oh, my word. I'm too scared to put my foot down. I've never said that in my life. My nickname is Leadfoot and I don't want to do it. Oh no, what is going on? Amazing. Amazing. And now we're going to go out for a little drive.
Yes. We're out.
Now, Eric's very nervous and possessive over his expensive truck. So he's going to drive it on the road because, you know.
Because of reasons.
Because of reasons. I just want to point out that I stood up full height inside this truck. It's big enough that I could actually swing Alan around by his feet inside this cab, and his head actually probably wouldn't hit very much. It's enormous. And here we go. Right, on the open road. Here we go. This thing is quiet. Quiet, quiet, quiet.
So we can have a very quiet conversation, which would be significantly different than in a diesel.
It's a bit like a cathedral.
I was driving the other day and I was on the phone to someone saying, "What's that ticking noise?"
It's my indicator.
Indicator.
This is Eric's office. And I have to admit, I'm just a little bit jealous of it. You see that tiny little speck over there? That's an i20. It looks like a little bug. Oh, I said outside I could get used to this. And I have no idea what I'd do with it, but yes, I still want one. Now I'm being actually inside one, I think I want one even more. So, fun with math. Talk to me about this IC you call it?
So IC is our predictive cruise control.
Predictive cruise control.
Yes, so what it does, it has a high definition GPS map built into its ECU, and it knows what route you're on, and it knows it can predict your route up to 2 kilometers ahead of you. So what it can do is it will then map out the best throttle and brake strategy to give you the optimum fuel economy on that run.
I can't believe that. That's fantastic. Is that unique to the electric vehicles, or is that built into diesel as well?
That's built into the diesels as well. It's just the version in here is just optimized for the electric driveline. Because ordinarily what will happen is in the diesels it will disengage the neutral and let the engine idle. In this case, the electrics, the motors just stop completely. So you end up with
there's a huge amount of under the skin technology that goes into these vehicles, and it's really interesting to note. You know, nothing is left to chance, nothing is left to waste. Every cent you spend hauling something somewhere costs money, so it's money that you resent spending, and obviously Volvo do a fairly good job of minimizing that.
Well, we try our absolute best.
Greg, thank you for the drive. That was amazing. Quiet. I won't say refined because I have nothing to compare it with, but I'm going to say refined anyway.
Oh, so your first time in a truck is sitting down in an electric. Well done. You've ruined yourself for all other trucks.
Oh, that's just the way we roll. It's just the way we roll. What an experience. And I think that in 10 years' time, the road scene is going to be very different to what it is now. And for me, I just love the mathematics behind it all.
My name is Michael Pashut and I'm the proud owner of Change Cars and the host of the TV show All Things Motoring. I'm even prouder to work with Alan Rosenmeyer of Motor Matters, your #1 review specialist for all things new. If you are looking for a new or used car, if you're looking for advice, Visit changecars.co.za and I promise you, you will get the best advice from the best dealers in South Africa.